In the year 2077, society ran on emotional autopilot. Life was smooth, comfortable, and perfectly balanced. Got a stressful meeting? Your smart lenses would soften the anxiety. Feeling a bit down? A mood balancing chip in your wrist would lift you right up. These weren't mind control devices. They were just helpers. Digital assistants for your feelings, nudging you toward a state of constant, pleasant calm. And for a while it seemed like a perfect system. No more crippling anxiety, no more devastating sadness. Humanity had seemingly conquered its own emotional chaos. But then, a quiet unease started to ripple through society. People began to realize that something was missing. They remembered their lives, but the memories lacked color. The sharp sting of disappointment, the soaring thrill of a personal victory, the deep gut-wrenching ache of loss, it was all gone, smoothed over into a bland, manageable hum. Life felt less like a journey and more like a guided tour. People had forgotten what it felt like to truly feel. That's when the whispers started. Rumors of a hidden network, an illicit trade happening in the digital shadows. It was called the underground market for real emotions. This wasn't a black market for anything dangerous or illegal. It was a trade in something far more precious, authentic, unfiltered human feelings. These were emotional impressions, sensory recordings captured decades ago, before mood tech became the norm. They were digital ghosts of genuine experiences. The heart-pounding excitement of crossing a finish line, the profound comfort of a shared laugh with a loved one, the breathtaking awe of watching a meteor shower for the first time. These files didn't hijack your brain or force you to feel anything. They were more like windows. They offered a glimpse into a forgotten world, a world where emotions were raw, messy, and profoundly real. And for a generation raised on perfectly regulated feelings, this was the most captivating thing imaginable. Curiosity exploded. People who had spent their entire lives in a state of digital tranquility were suddenly desperate for a taste of the real thing. At first, the market was innocent. It was just people sharing old family videos, preserved digital diaries, and personal archives they had voluntarily donated. But as demand soared, the trade escalated. Collectors began hoarding rare, pure emotion files, some dating back to the early 21st century. An unfiltered recording of a child's first steps, a student's unedited joy at receiving an acceptance letter, these became priceless artifacts. They were reminders of what life felt like before it was curated by an algorithm. Naturally, the authorities grew concerned. The Global Wellness Commission, the very body that championed mood-balancing technology, launched a quiet investigation. Not because they thought the market was dangerous, but because its very existence exposed a fundamental flaw in their vision for society. People weren't trying to escape reality. They were desperately trying to find it again. What the investigators found wasn't a criminal underworld. It was a passionate community of archivists, artists, and ethicists. They saw themselves as cultural preservationists, safeguarding the last remnants of genuine human feeling. They believed that real emotion was a treasure, a part of our shared heritage that was too important to be forgotten or filtered away. But where there's demand, corporations are never far behind. A massive wellness company, Corp, saw a golden opportunity. They tried to patent heritage emotion samples, arguing that these recorded feelings were a form of intellectual property. The idea was shocking. Could you own joy? Could you license grief? The move sparked global outrage, igniting the biggest court battle of the decade. The world was forced to ask the terrifying question, who owns our feelings? While the lawyers argued, the underground market transformed. It evolved into a network of sanctuaries. People gathered in hidden clubs, not for illicit thrills, but for a kind of emotional communion. On massive screens, they would watch unfiltered recordings play out like works of art, the pure unedited wonder of a scientist making a breakthrough, the quiet pride of a parent watching their child perform. These weren't just videos. They were moments of connection to a deeper humanity. These gatherings weren't illegal. They simply existed outside the grasp of corporate ownership. In a stunning twist, a leaked report revealed that many of the same government officials investigating the market were secretly visiting these clubs themselves. The real turning point came when investigators followed a lead to an abandoned museum. Beneath its dusty floors, they discovered a hidden vault. Inside were thousands upon thousands of emotional archives, all voluntarily donated by people who wanted to ensure that future generations would understand what it truly meant to feel. The files weren't labeled with names or dates. Instead, they bore simple, powerful words: hope, curiosity, forgiveness, courage. In that moment, the analysts understood. This wasn't a crime network, it was a cultural resistance. It was a movement fighting back against emotional homogenization, against a future where our deepest experiences were sanitized for our own comfort. The so-called crime wasn't that people were trading emotions. The crime was that society had allowed emotion to become so rare, so precious, that it was treated like contraband. The investigation concluded with a landmark decision that sent shockwaves across the globe. The courts declared that emotional recordings were a form of culturally protected human heritage. They could not be owned, patented, or sold by corporations. They belonged to everyone. Overnight, the underground market came into the light. It transformed into a global network of public institutions, emotion museums, emotional libraries, and digital sanctuaries where anyone could go to reconnect. People went not to escape their lives, but to remember how to live them more fully. They went to feel the sharp edges, the brilliant peaks, and the deep valleys that technology had smoothed away. The final report from the Global Wellness Commission contained one sentence that would come to define the era. It was a simple, powerful truth that they had rediscovered in the digital archives of that hidden vault. It read, "Emotion is not a product. It is the last proof we are human." Thanks for watching. If this story made you think, or maybe even feel something, consider subscribing for more journeys into the future. See you next time.